A better Nigeria, is it a myth or do we keep hoping?
Nigeria is a highly religious country. How come corruption thrives?
Why is adoption not encouraged in Nigeria?
Is there a future for the Nigerian youth?
Being rich and famous, is that the only reason for being an artist?
What makes a great nation? Is it the leaders? What about the people?
This is Answers with Dr.Reju.
My name is Agnes, and as usual, my co-anchor is Joseph.
Hi Agnes, Happy New Year.
Same to you. Yeah, this happens to be our first live episode since 2019. Since last year, I like to say that. All right, and we are going to be. We have Dr. Reju in the studio. I think I'm a bit excited. We have Dr. Reju joining us in the studio today, and he is the Chief Resource Person of the Center for Transformational Leadership, CTL. Just you are welcome, sir.
Thank you, Agnes. Hi, Joseph. Glad to be here.
Welcome back.
Happy New Year.
And you look good.
Thank you.
Let me see that.
Yeah.
Okay, so we are still basking in the euphoria of the new year 2020. So we would like to talk about the start of a new decade and its implications for emerging leaders. Don't forget you can send in your comments and questions to the number 081 44 56 9000. 081 44 56 9000. You can also visit our website answerswithdrreju.org. So let's go into what we're talking about today. So sir, I'd like you to tell us, as emerging leaders, the implication of this new decade. What does it mean for us as young people?
It doesn't mean anything. Absolutely nothing. It doesn't mean anything. You know, 1st of January 2020 is just another day. You know, I like the way you put it, euphoria. You know, go and check the dictionary for meaning of euphoria. You know, it's like a bubble. It's like you're just being driven away by the hype. You're just, you know, now having said that, that doesn't mean that it can be used for planning purposes, but it must not be from the from the euphoric sense. Is people get so deceived that we're entering into a decade, we're entering into a new year, or the happy new year, and all those kind of things. It means absolutely nothing. Absolutely, it's just a bubble. It's a bubble. Whatever you've not been doing, whatever habit you've not built, whatever values you've not established in your life, that is 2020 and is beginning of a new decade, doesn't mean you are going to do it. You can start a new life, right, from, today. You can start it tomorrow. You can use these landmarks, but really it doesn't come with anything special. And I think that's where, emerging leaders need to begin if anything is going to happen differently for them. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we're the same people.
You are. You see, the reality dawned on me in 1999, preparatory to 2000. And there was a lot of hype, hoopla, noise about new millennium, maybe you guys were here, they want to talk about millennium bug, all those kind of things, computers will shut down. You know how it happened to me. I was awake till 12 midnight. And what the most remarkable thing that happened to me was the second hand of my wristwatch. It was just another car. Right? It was another car. And we've moved from 1999 to 2000. That was the most remarkable thing that happened to me. Most remarkable thing. And so, a lot of things that happening, everybody. And when I started reading, because that was actually when I became aware that I'm never going to allow any kind of bubble, any kind of euphoria, any kind of uneducated excitement or enthusiasm to rule my life. So a lot of people don't have their feet on the ground. And that's where all this hoopla about new decade, it means absolutely nothing. Days of the week are human creations. They are human creations, so it means nothing. Yeah.
Okay, so you know that in the last decade, I remember 2010, there was every leader was promising Vision 2020 and
it's
all.
Here.
Yeah.
So what has happened?
Yeah. And there was this revolution that started in the Middle East around 2010.
Arab Spring.
Yes. Yeah. And I think they haven't even recovered from that till date. And so now, as emerging leaders, you mentioned that we should use it for planning purposes. Because we were having a conversation with Agnes, and we were talking about how even when we talk about preparation, is maybe we just make plans and we forget them. So how do we act differently this new decade so that it will be different from the last?
I think I've answered that question. The first thing is to first of all rid yourself of the euphoria, the bubble, because it makes you feel as if something is happening. There is nothing happening. And especially, it's more dangerous because of our religious environment. You see, I studied a bit of theology, and there is a difference between prophecy and futurology. Futurology is in the same class as meteorology. Yeah. And even meteorology is more, it's more scientifically based than futurology. Futurology is esoteric, is kind of very cosmic, but meteorology is science, where you can use some scientific tools to predict weather. Right? Yeah. But futurology is just like, in fact, it's not even as realistic as market forecast, where you can use some political, social trends to find out, to determine how the market will move. I mean, if there is problem in Niger Delta, I can tell you that it's going to affect stocks. Yes. Yeah, it's going to affect the price of oil. So there is a whole field now of futurology where people just talk about something that's going to happen within the next 10 years. It doesn't, you can, for example, if I pay my staff every 7th of the month, I pay them monthly. Yeah. If it is 7th of the month, I pay them monthly. So I can count my own month from any point. Right? I can count from any point. So I can pay them 15th of every month. It's still monthly. Yeah. So in our organization, the beginning of the month is not first, it's 15th. Am I making sense? Yeah. But you see, so when you're going to plan, if you work in my organization, you have to take your cue from 15th. Not from first, because your month does not start on the first. You see, these are realities. So where do you take your cue from when you want to plan? If your cue is from this 1st of January kind of thing, this beginning of a new decade, where you just get this initial velocity, if that's it, it's going to win. Guaranteed it will win. It's so totally different from building a habit of planning, a habit of discipline, A habit of, so that can happen from any moment. It doesn't have to be 1st of January. That's why I pity some places, some churches where there's a prophecy for the year. It's the height of voodoo. It's occultic. It's voodoo. Right? There's nothing there. It's just manipulation. It's witchcraft. It just gives people something to hold on. It's terrible. It's terrible. So I just I don't have a problem with the elderly, those who are in the twilight of their years. But for emerging leaders who are still being driven away by all those kind of hoopla, the hype, is worrisome. You can take your cue from anywhere. This is a day and age where you can rise up and create your own world. You can create your own world. For about 15 years, we still need to use these days of the week and all that. For 15 years, I always round off my year in October. Yeah. So people shouldn't be driven by days of the week, by something that's no. That shouldn't. If that's the way you live your life, you can't have focus. You can't have perspective, because it's something that is controlled from somewhere else. So that's no reality. It's not reality.
Okay, thank you, sir. Like you said, planning from the beginning of the year is just a euphoria. But there's this there's this research I saw also that said before 14th of January, all New Year resolution, like 95% of the people who made New Year resolution might have broken most of them. So how do we create these habits of planning and intentional living?
It's a, first of all, it must not be based on days of the week. It must be based on, where do I want to go? Right?
Yeah.
And then, why do I want to go there? And then, once I establish those why, where, then I begin to talk about how. And then, what is the cost of this how? What do I need to do? Like my professor in school would say, which is the best means of transportation?
Depends on where I want
it depends on where I want to go. If I want to go to London, I can't be talking about, I can't compare Kekena Pep to an airplane.
Yeah.
It's unfair. So where do I want to go? So you don't start with what is the best means of transportation. You start with what? Where do I want to go?
Yeah.
So the moment I know where I want to go, and the way I want to go must be based on, do you know how long people have been talking about purpose, about if purposes are actually being pursued, being executed, being realized, being fulfilled? Most of the talk about purpose today will be the stories of people.
Yeah.
Not some principles that are just hanging in the air. People will know purpose when you just tell your story, because you are now a purpose.
Yeah.
Yeah. But because there's a lot of talk, and it's more difficult now, because you see, life today is like what happens in a WhatsApp group. Let me paint a picture of what happens on a WhatsApp group. Many of you might belong to, maybe some.
A lot of them.
Old schoolmates and all. Let me tell you what really happens in WhatsApp groups. Everybody talks, nobody listens. That's the reality. That's how the world is. Everybody wants to be heard, so nobody is listening.
Yeah.
So if you're gonna really live profitably today, you want to create a space where you determine who you want to hear, right? Because the whole world is a cacophony. Who you want to hear. And the moment you determine who you want to hear is because you've asked yourself, you've been able to establish what this person has to offer. This person has some things to say to me that will benefit me. And then you take it a step further because I'm feeding from somewhere. I also want to determine where I want to discharge it to. Right? Where I want to discharge it to. Who will be listening to me? Right?
Yeah.
So I lead organizations. So this is how I live my life. I'm not looking for those I want to give instructions to. I'm looking for those who will receive instructions from me. Right? So, life must be lived by the principle of choices and consequences. Right? So it's so important. That is how to break out of this. Because people are just living in a bubble. People are just echoes of something they've heard and they don't even know the original source. You see, I'm an academic. You can't just make a statement in the academic setting without identifying the source.
Yeah.
You must reference it properly. You can't make statements in a vacuum. You must identify the source. Right? And if you make a statement and you talk as if you are the author, you will be fired. Because that's plagiarism.
Yeah.
So, those are the kind of things that rule life. That is what makes life meaningful. So, for emerging leaders there, who are you listening to? And then who are you talking to? So this is so important. The reason why people break their whatever they call New Year resolution, it was because, you see, they don't even know the meaning of a resolution. It's from the word resolve. To resolve to do something is an informed, well thought out decision.
Yeah.
Having considered all the factors and you have considered the consequences, the intended, the unintended, and then you come to a resolution. Right?
Yeah.
So the reason you break it because you never had a resolution. You never did.
They were just wishes.
They were just wishes. And like they say, the old maxim, if wishes were horses, beggars will ride.
Yeah.
So you can't. It's impossible to break a resolution because if you break it, there are consequences.
Yeah.
But if you say you've broken a resolution and life continues at normal, you never had one. You know what happens in a place, maybe in the political, maybe in the global, maybe international politics, right? UN will have a resolution. A country breaks it. It is followed by sanctions.
Yeah.
That's the way it is. That's the way it is. So if you break a resolution, you are sanctioned. So do you have, imagine leaders should come into reality where you understand, where you no longer live, maybe in the dark and you are groping, trying to feel. And if you live for long in the dark, right, you know exactly where everything is.
Sure.
But it's still a guess. But the way to really live well in the dark is the place when there is light. So when the light is off,
you still know
your way around.
Yeah.
You see, so these are they need to first of all break out of these days and weeks that first of all it is human creation. I decide to live 10 months in the year, not 12. My own year is 10 months. Right? It's 10 months. That's what I decide. 10 months. So it's not that I don't need months. It's 10 months. Whatever I want to do within the particular, my own year is 10 months. Generally, year is what? 12. Because there was a time in this world, right, where we had only, 9 months in the year. It was a human being that added and made it 12. So why can't I create my own? This might be a bit extremist, but that's the way to live profitably. Does it mean by October I stop breathing? No. It's for planning purposes. So you can use days of the week for planning purposes. Right?
Yes, sir.
You can use months of the year for planning purposes. But for majority, those days and months and weeks, use them they don't use it. They are victims. They're just excited for nothing. It's like, I promise you, I'm going to give you 1 billion naira, and you are excited. You know? I don't have. So you are excited for, your hope is based on nothing. It doesn't exist. I don't have 1 billion naira. I don't have it. But if Dangote promised you 1 billion naira, you might be excited. But the truth is, can he part with 1 billion for you? So what I'm saying basically is, it must be. But if he gives you 1 billion naira check, you can go to the bank, because you know that. It's not. It's even. It's not. It won't bounce. Yeah. His integrity is at stake. A lot of things they are at stake. So, you know, whatever we are doing must be based on reality. This is what emerging leaders need to go. That's the word they need to go and study. What is real?
Oh, okay. The resolutions one got me. So, sir, I need a little bit of clarification.
Okay.
So you said that no one can break a resolve.
You can't break it.
Okay. Because I remember most times I'd be like, you know what, I want to do this. Maybe assuming I want to start drinking more water now than I used to before. And I'm like, I really want to do this. I mean, I really, really want to do this because I feel it's healthy, it's this, it's good for my health, all of that. And then sometimes you find yourself going back on that. So how we as
it wasn't the resolve. You see, it never
how should we resolve?
Is, you know, you only come to a point of resolution when all the factors, the pros and the cons are real to you. If you truly know that if you don't stay hydrated, if maybe a nutritionist, a doctor can paint the picture, give you some graphic illustration and see how you are dying until it becomes a matter of life and death. If you know that if you don't drink water, if you can't graphically see the effect, you do without it.
Okay, so it feels like every resolution has to be real to us.
All the factors have to be on the table. It must be. That's why I said go and look at. You need to ask what is real. The moment you still believe you can do without it, right? You can do without it. You know, you know, you will still break it. But when it really dawns, you know, the word dawn is the realm after dark. Yeah. Right? Nothing is no longer fuzzy. When you say it dawns on me, that means you're no longer in darkness. It has dawned on me. Yeah. So there's a reality that needs to dawn. It needs to dawn. You know, when it's not done yet, you know, a lot of things can still be assumed. You can still, you know, because darkness is symbolic of ignorance, light is symbolic of knowledge. You know, so when you said it dawned on me, what you're saying is that the day has broken. It's daybreak now. Yeah, it's daybreak. Okay. So you still not keep to the discipline of hydrating because the adverse effect of not being hydrated has not dawned on you.
So I have to come to a point where I feel I cannot
it's a can't do without.
Life.
If you know that, for example, if you don't know that staying in front of a racing car can kill you, you will stay there. You will stay there. You will stay there. You've seen some things about somebody who is maybe on a wheelchair and the car is coming. The guy will run for a moment. It's a matter of life and death. After the whole thing had died down, the guy might remember, oh, I'm supposed to be lame.
And then
he goes back to the wheelchair. That's it.
Okay. There's a point where we take a musical break. Let's listen to this song. It's called New Day by Celine Dion. Stay with us.
This is Partridge Radio.
Welcome back. This is Answers with Dr.Reju, where critical life issues are clarified. And that was Celine Dion on New Day Has Come. Just everyone talk about that.
Yeah, as Dr. Reju was saying, that until it dawns on you that something is very important, you will never have a new day. So just tying it to this song, it will be a new day for us as emerging leaders when we come to this realization that some things are priority, and then not to be carried away by euphoria and all.
Okay, so that's it. Just you wanted to ask a question before we went on the short break, so maybe you just continue.
Okay, sir, you there's a way you've been opening our eyes. There's a way people celebrate from December to January 1st, December ending especially, and then January becomes a very lengthy month. Yes, young people talk about that a lot.
Really?
They say January is the longest month of the year. That there is January 1st, January 1.1, like to keep moving like that. So I wanted to help us or put some clarity on how emerging leaders should look at finances, especially when it comes to celebration, because some people might use their whole savings for the whole year, blow it in December and January, and then they start all over again to save afresh for December and January.
Yeah, I'm going to tell a funny story, to maybe it will help to drive that point home. I grew up in the village, and in the village there are a lot of Christmas festivities and all those kind of things, and it's supposed to be a time of generosity, of when you give. And I remember we will sit with a lot of my friends, maybe over a drink and all those kind of things. There's this man in our village. It's a small village, so most of us know ourselves. He's a madman. Yeah, he's a mind. He's a man that lost his mind. And there was a particular day the guy came and asked for money. So one of us said, "I don't have." And the man said something that's going to help with this question. He said, "Christmas doesn't come unannounced. How come you don't have money? How can you tell me you don't have money? Say Christmas gives you 12 months notice. Whoa. How can you not have money during Christmas?" So there's a lot of wisdom in what this madman said. Yeah. So December doesn't come. You don't just wake up and say, "Oh, it's December." If January is long, it's announcing to you that you have been so planless. You have been so indisciplined. You have allowed the season to carry you away, to rule you. Do you have a budget for Christmas? Do you know exactly, or do you spend on impulse? Do you have boundaries? Why should you, there's nothing wrong in celebrating, but you should celebrate within the limits of your plan. Right? You should celebrate within the limits of your plan. It shouldn't just be as how things come. Again, brings me back to reality. Can there really be any January 1.5? It's self-deception. It's an illusion. Yeah. It's an illusion. So you see, people say all those kind of things to explain away their planlessness. You can't, because there are a lot of things that should happen in January. For parents, time you pay school fees. If you say you don't have, you didn't plan. Because like that madman said, the school fees didn't come unannounced. You can't say you don't have. The madman was telling us you should have made plans for people you are going to give alms to. How can you tell me you don't have money during Christmas? Christmas doesn't come unannounced. 12 months notice. Right? As we sit here now, we can actually reckon the next Christmas. You can even reckon in terms of minutes, in terms of seconds. Yeah. If we take time now, we can reckon how many seconds to next Christmas. True? Yeah. Because you can look at the days, you can look at the months, you can work it down to seconds. Right? Yeah. You can walk it down to seconds. So that's the way life is. So when you say January is long, you are just using deception to paint your reality, because it's not long. Right? Yeah. It's 31 days. Like every other, every other month in the year, that's 31. Yeah. February can be, this year, is it a leap year? I don't know.
I think it's a mindset thing.
Yeah.
Even if you have money, you just feel.
You see, when you have insomnia, when you struggle with sleeplessness, the night is long. But is it really long? No, it's a mind thing. Yeah. It's the same number of hours. So these are things, and for emerging leaders, there's a habit you need to develop, that you know how to whip yourself, know how to punish yourself, know how to discipline yourself, appreciate the benefit of pain, especially the one that you inflict on yourself. Don't quickly talk yourself out of it. Don't like some ignorant Christians, we say they have faith in it. Those things don't exist. Because one of the problems in this country now is church. Yeah. Is religion. It's those kind of, those things that doesn't exist. Because you say some things and it gives you the false impression that is happening. So it's a one thing. I'm going to repeat that for emerging leaders. Know how to live by your own rules. Right? Yeah. And then when you set those rules, check the root of the rules. What is the basis? What's the mind? Are they real? Yeah. Is it because when people say, that thing is difficult, what they are really saying is it's impossible? Yeah. Right? Life is tough. Let that dawn on you. Life is a race. Before you can understand that phrase, ask athletes. Ask athletes. So it's a very, very, because people of your generation, they are quick to explain away their planlessness, their indiscipline, their lack of values. They just explain it away, and they just, the therapy is just go and post something on Instagram, and then you are cool. It doesn't mean the problem has gone. When you wake up, you find it. Yeah. Like when you give therapy to people who are alcoholics, because they hide under the influence of alcohol, that the influence of alcohol will wane, and then you come back to the problem, and then you go back and drink again. You don't know that the resources you are committing to drinking can actually be used to actually face the problem. It's the only problem that gets solved are the ones you face. And when you face it, it comes with pain. Pain reminds you of you are alive. Right? Yeah. And when you are alive, life reminds you of responsibilities. Then responsibility, because responsibility is the ability to respond to challenges. That's the meaning of responsibility, is responsibility. The ability to respond to challenges. And that's where progress comes. Yeah. So you can't wish progress. You must fulfill that whole process. You must go through that whole process. So one thing is this: you must not be quick to explain away your problems. Face it. Take responsibility for it. And for a country that knows, even our general, the general in the army asks for prayers, right? Prayer is not a getaway strategy. Prayer is not a substitute for action. Prayer is a preparation for action. Yeah. Because I have to say that because people talk about prayer a lot in this country. The richest countries, the most prosperous of countries in the world are those who don't even pray. But I tell you, they pray. Their prayer is just action. They pray.
So maybe they reflect, they find solutions, they act. And then, again, sir, that a lot of, like you mentioned, I think it was in the introduction, you mentioned that there's futurology and
yeah.
all. You know, every year, you know, there's this end of the year meetings in different settings, religious meetings. And then, you know, you hear things like whatever couldn't work for you throughout the year is going to work before the year runs out and all. And then there's this expectations of the next, of the prophecies for the next year. You know, there was a time I went somewhere to eat, and we were there, and someone was eating. He just showed me something from his phone, prophecies for the year. And I was trying to see who the guy was even. I didn't know him. I was like, so why should I even believe someone I can't bank on his integrity? So a lot of things happen, and, you know, it's like they just want to give people a kind of direction.
You know, I'm going to just cut in there because I know exactly where you're headed, but I'm going to explain it, you know, this way. Those who give all this kind of thing they call prophecies, they suffer from mental illness, and they take advantage of the mental illness of others. It's a mental problem. It's a national scourge now. You know, these people are mentally deranged, and they take advantage of the mental illness of other people. And by this mental illness, I mean people have become subdued by life challenges. Unknown to them that life challenges are to remind you of your strength. There is no challenge, there is no problem that any human being can have that the solution is not in that human being. And then the solution begins with you recognizing that I have brought this thing on I was telling a group of women that my mother had, you know, my mother had 9 kids, right? Yeah. She died at the age of 70. She never had to do hysterectomy, right? You know hysterectomy, where they remove the womb of the woman. She never had cancer. She never had any. In fact, there was a time she had a stroke and she came out of it fully. Yeah. She came out of the stroke fully by counsel. What am I trying to say? There was a time when people were closer to reality. Right? They were closer to reality. Today, we are far off from reality. You see, we need to get back to reality. We need to define what is real. A lot of people, especially these people that we try to address on this program, the ones we call the emerging leaders, the one between the ages of 19, let's take it back to a bit of maybe 50. People grow up quickly now, 15, 35, stretch it to 40. They are living in a bubble. What they are, looking to happen in their life don't exist. If you are looking for what doesn't exist, there's only one option. You won't find it. Why? It does not exist. Yeah. It doesn't exist. So why are you... There was a time I said on one of the episodes on the program that a lot of young people they read too many success stories.
They don't create their...
They don't create their own. And if you read a success story, book or talk, if the book of success doesn't have... If you had 10 chapters and 8 of the chapters is not about failure, it's a lie. It's a lie. If it's all good, it's a lie. It's a lie. Bitter is more beneficial than sweet.
That's hard.
But today, we don't even want bitter. We don't want bitter. Now the whole world is getting back to herbs.
So except those who have it in abundance.
Exactly. The reason I brought my mom's story was because at that time they ate well, right? Yeah. They cook with coal pot. They cook with firewood. There was no microwave. I'm not saying all these things are bad, but you can use them by choice, not by compulsion. Right? You can decide. You see, we are underestimating the power of choice. Somebody said the reason the rate of divorce is so high is because people marry for wrong reasons. I say, how many people marry for right reasons? How many? How do we even know the reason that's right? When you even marry for wrong reasons, when you get into it, opportunities will come every day to right the wrong. Because life is a risk. We are sitting down here, there can be earthquake. Right? This roof can cave in. How are we sure that you're going to take the next breath? Life is a risk. I don't know how else to let Africans, Nigerians break out of this cycle of something will happen because it's 12 midnight. What is the difference between the 12 midnight of December 31st and the 12 midnight of July 31st? Absolutely none. It's stupidity. We need to reclaim our minds, get our minds back. Every day of your life can become your new year. It's how you make it. It can become your new year. You can decide that, okay, my birthday this year is going to be my new year. Sometimes I greet people happy birthday. I greet them happy new year. Because it's another new year for them. Yeah. If I hate the phrase happy new year, happy, when people send to me happy new month, I delete it. What's happy about the month? How do you know it's going to be happy? I want to be in charge of the happiness. I want to create the happiness, not a wish. Only tell me happy new month at the end of the month. Don't wish me. I don't want to live my life by wishes. I don't want to live my... It's stupidity. It's mental illness. And that's why people are depressed. Because expectations are not real. They are looking for what doesn't exist. We need to break this cord. These young people need to put on their thinking cap and break out of this cycle, you work all year and you waste the money in December because it's December.
Okay, so I want to ask this, right? The thing is, most times, okay, people will be like, we're talking about planning before Joseph of the other question. And then, so how do we deal with unplanned events? Things that just happen. For example, maybe you decide, okay, you're going to be putting off money, and then maybe at the middle of the year, they called you and told you, okay, your brother is sick and you need certain money. And that's like exactly how much you have in your account and you've been saving all year.
You know that there are many things in life that's outside of our control. So to even save, you can save. Do you know it's almost impossible to save to build a house? Yeah. It's really... If you're going to save to build a house, you can't be putting the money somewhere. If you're going to save to build a house, the moment the money is, you put it there. You put it in the building. You can't put it... No. It's not possible. If you're going to build a house, if you earn maybe like $1 million in a month, you can say, okay, every month I'm going to put, 500,000 into this house. You can't be putting 500,000 somewhere. Your brother might be sick. I don't wish your brother to be sick. I don't pray for your brother to be sick or whatever. Even if I pray that God won't hear, So, but there are some things that will come that's outside of your control. But you see, if you don't tie your resources to, progressive ventures, if you're just saving money, the way they say it, for raining day, the rain will come and then, the money will go. Right? The money will go. Decide, what do I want to do? How much do I earn? How much do I have? How much can I give for that which I want to do? And I begin to put it there. Right? So when you're, if, I don't want to say if, I don't want to say when, if your brother is sick, right? Just pray you have resources at that time Maybe, because I believe in providence. Maybe the reason you put that money aside is this thing was going to come. Shouldn't it be something you are happy about? That your brother is sick and you have money somewhere that you can use to, pay the medical bills and is nursed back to health? Exactly. You should be thankful for that. You should be thankful. So that shouldn't be something that what if you don't have and your brother dies? You will wish you saved. You wish you saved. Does it make sense?
Yes.
Yeah. So it's nothing bad that you have some money put somewhere and then this sickness comes and then you are able to put that money to be able to nurse your brother back to health. It's good. It's good. So you can't say I'm saving towards something. Who says you will still be on that job tomorrow? Who says you will even be alive? So many times we put ourselves in trouble because we go into realms that we have no control over. Right? Live in the realm that you have control over. This is the only time I have right now. Right? And I want to live now. I want to live in this present. In psychology, if you live in the future, you are sick. If you live in the past, you are sick. You can only live in the present.
No.
I'm not saying, planning, vision, right, is creating a future now. Yeah. You can only create the future by what you do now. Now. Vision is not just seeing the future. You create the future. And when do you create it? Now. Now. So we need to understand the now. The now. Because people are talking about the decade. How many people are going to be alive at the end of this decade? What you are going to do in this decade depends on what you do now. Yeah. And what you do now. Somebody will put a picture of a house on Facebook and say you should claim it. That's mental illness.
They'll say type amen and all, and you receive the house.
That thing is voodoo.
Yeah.
And it's mental illness. What the sensible should ask is, tell me how many type amen last time and they have the house. Now. Then I'll tap my own.
And sometimes some people will experience, maybe they did an investment or a business came up. They want to tie it because to that thing that happened, maybe someone said something to them.
Is the business you did that produced that? There is nowhere where amen build a house. It's not possible.
Right, sir.
Amen can't build a house. You go to block sellers and tell them amen and they give you 10,000 blocks. Don't trust the blocks.
Okay. So we've come to the end of today's episode of Answers with Dr. Reju. Okay, guys. So if you've been listening, you should have gotten this point. First of all, we need to just push aside the idea of something miraculous just going to happen in 2020. I used to feel like that, like this year. I feel it.
My favorite dream, my favorite memory of New Year. That's the only time in my family where you can drink alcohol in presence of my father. That's the freest day in our family.
Whoa.
Yeah. So we look forward to it. Yeah. What you do in secret, you cannot do it before. That is it. After that, if you do it, it's a crime. So it's just
yes.
Children can relish. They can relish in that. They can revel in that, but not adults.
Yeah.
Not adults. There's no difference between July 31st into August 1st. There's no difference. December 31st is not there's no special day. The day is special when you make it so.
Exactly. And then you wake up on the 1st of 2020 and it's still the same day, the same everything, the same sun.
Rises.
Somebody said I woke up on the wrong side of the. I said on my own bed I don't have the wrong side. I declare all the sides right.
Yes, so guys, nothing will happen unless you make it happen.
Yeah, that's
so don't wait for things to happen, right? Go out there and happen to things. My brother likes saying that. All right, so guys, don't forget that you can visit our website at answerswithdrreju.org to stream on all our previous episodes. We'll see you next week on another exciting episode. So bye-bye.
This is Partridge Radio.